You're listening to the We Are Libertarians podcast network. Find all of our shows at wearelibertarians.com. You're listening to the We Are Libertarians network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com.
Welcome to the Boss Hog Liberty Podcast. This is episode number 82, version 2.0 of essentially Nana's favorite podcast. I'm Jeremiah Morrell, and as always, I'm joined by co-host Dakota Davis, and on the other side of the room, co-host Chase Peyton.
What's happening, hot stuff?
I got no words. I don't know. I'm just holding on, hoping hoping everything works today.
Today's episode is going to be featuring candidate Mr. Tom Ferkinhoff. He is the candidate for District 6, United States Congress in the state of Indiana. You are facing Jeannine Lee Lake, who said that you're her favorite libertarian of all time.
How could I not be?
Yeah.
I'm very offended by it, Tom.
Yeah, she said it sitting right here in front of us.
She said it right to my
to
face, and I looked at her and went, oh my God. And she listens to the show. She knows who I am. It's not like it was a surprise.
Yeah. And you are also facing Mr. Greg Pence, the vice president's older brother.
Much older brother.
Yep. All right.
That's
it.
This show is about our lives in rural Indiana, and as always, we promise that our episodes are going to be fun and an easy listen. We'll peel the curtain back for you real quick. We did all of this one time a minute ago, and the Wi-Fi just disappeared, and we tap danced around. I thought the battery died on our Mevo camera, and I thought, it's really important to our candidates. We have a candidate series that we're trying to give everybody equal time and equal preparation. And then Tom comes in, and everything goes wrong at once. So we apologize to Tom, but we're going to make the best of the show. So we started over.
It kind of started like we had the Libertarian Party of Henry County had an open house for the headquarters.
We share space. They have the front half, we have the back half.
And so we used our recording equipment to live stream that video. So everything was broken down, and I totally forgot it was all broken down until I got here at 6:30, and it was like, uh-oh.
Trying to catch up. Well, this is another sponsored episode. The entire candidate series is sponsored. Today, it's by the Slick Pickle on Main Street in Newcastle. They are the latest and greatest in entertainment in Henry County. They are a party entertainment system, Chase.
I love parties.
Or a party entertainment service.
I love pickles. I love buses and booze.
So 1702 South Main Street, the Slick Pickle says they're taking a ride in style. They're taking reservations now. It's a big old party bus. You've seen it parked in front of the Babe Ruth Diamond.
I have.
And
I tried to hit it one time. I didn't do it.
So they offer bachelor parties, weddings. Just you want to do a booze cruise, if you want to go voting or whatever, you can rent this thing.
I think we should rent it when Danny gets married because he's the next one.
Aren't you next?
No.
You have any announcements?
Not yet.
Not yet. All right. So you can get the Slick Pickle for 4 hours for $450, or you can get up to an 8-hour max trip. If you want to call them up, check them out. You can give them a call. It's at 765-325-5867. The Slick Pickle, Newcastle, Indiana, 1701 South Main Street. Of course, they're a mobile service, so you really don't care where the bus is parked. They just pick you up where you're at, and you go for a ride.
Pretty awesome.
Pretty sweet.
All right. What do you got for us, Dakota?
Oh, I don't have a whole lot, but I do, of course, want to thank everyone who supports us on Patreon. That is the monthly service where your contribution, you get billed monthly, money comes to us, and we use it to pay the rent and the electric bill
and the Wi-Fi
bill. The Wi-Fi bill that cuts out sometimes. all these bills, the people who support us on Patreon are the ones that are paying for our space and paying for a place where we can put on this show, can have this nice backdrop, and keep upgrading equipment. So if you want to support us, if you want to get in on that, then you can go to patreon.com/BossHogOfLiberty. And also, we do have an Amazon wish list. If you want to get us a piece of equipment, like I'm wearing the Craig DaCosta headphones, then you can go to Amazon.com and search Boss Hog of Liberty, and we have a profile.
I'd also like a sweatshirt.
Are you cold?
Getting cold out there.
Do we need to turn the heat up for you, buddy?
Greg, man, you're my man. Just saying.
I think maybe we need to add a new router to our list, a Google Wi-Fi router.
Yeah.
They're like $100, couple $100. But man, they're rock solid. If the
Uh,
Google people want us to test one out.
I have a round table on there. I need to take it off because I have decided that I'm going to make one because the other one just has horrible reviews.
I think our friends down at Spiceland Wood Products, maybe they'll help us out.
I think they can too.
We'll have to see. All right. So,
let's get to the gotcha questions.
So Tom Ferkinhoff is here. Are you gonna win this race? And if you do, are you gonna go ahead and put an office in Newcastle, or where's your congressional office going to be?
I guess I really haven't thought about where the congressional office is going to be. But I guess
we want to talk about favors
right.
and kickbacks. That's the way Congress works. So we're going to get into it immediately.
Yeah, I mean we'll have one in the north end of the district, one in the south end of the district, and Newcastle would seem a logical location since it's close to Muncie, close to Richmond.
I like that. I like that.
Accessible to a lot of people within the district. And
maybe
the population
we can,
centers up here.
The upstairs of this building is vacant right now, but it has the same landlord, so we can have this all split 3 ways. We're pretty good neighbors.
We're barely here.
Yeah.
So, Tom, tell us about yourself. Introduce. If people say, "Who is Tom Ferkinhoff?" and who's this name on my ballot? What do they need to know about you?
Yeah, I'm a certified public accountant. I've worked in the tax industry for over 30 years. Also currently work as a chief financial officer for several large manufacturing firms down in Cincinnati on a contract basis. So got a lot of experience with the tax code, a lot of experience with helping struggling businesses to turn things around. On a personal level, we've raised 3 daughters and now have 2 one-year-old grandsons. Lived in the 6th District all my life. We have been very involved in the Richmond community. I lived outside of Richmond over by Williamsburg. We've worked as youth ministers, as several other nonprofit entities and a few government boards. So I'm a little bit familiar with how.
So you're a government insider, is what you're telling us?
I'd say not enough to be an insider, but this is my first time running for elected office. So this has been a new experience for me as we've been getting out and meeting people and trying to learn the ropes here. So
what was you started this early on. You've not just been running for office for a couple of weeks. You started very early, and you were running in the Republican primary.
Yes.
And then you tell us about the journey to get from hey, I want to run for Congress to here we are 3 weeks before the election.
Yeah, and I first felt the urge when my wife and I were watching Barack Obama's farewell speech, and he made the comment, if you don't like what's going on in Washington, run for office. And I felt something inside of me like I'd only felt in a church service before. And when the speech was finished, and I looked at my wife and said, well, should I take his advice? And I knew she'd felt the same thing when she said, you mean run for office? And I said, yeah. And she said, well, as long as you put on some pants.
Do you normally watch the president's speeches in your boxer shorts?
It's the only way. It's the only way.
It's the only way to watch the president.
That way you don't find yourself running outside into the streets and making a fool of yourself. You do it without pants on. Maybe you'll stay inside.
Yeah. So we'd had the consideration ever since then, and basically, in the weeks after that, a couple people had asked me if I'd ever considered running for office. And I thought, well, in over 50 years, nobody'd ever asked me that question. So we're going to say it's not a coincidence that all of a sudden people are asking me that question. And so we started to research how to take on this journey and tried to contact the Republican Party in Richmond, and their website was bad. Their email addresses were all bad. Their phone number didn't work. The address they had listed, they're no longer at. So I just went ahead and filed for the primary and found out since I hadn't voted in the primary for 10 years due to different reasons and hadn't voted Republican the last time that they didn't want me running as a Republican.
They were trying to clear the deck for some guy.
They were trying to clear the deck for some guy. That part was pretty obvious of the way that some things had happened in the primary. But anyway, I think that was for the best because I think the Libertarian Party more aligns with my beliefs, and I think this is where I was meant to be.
So once you got the Libertarian nomination back in the spring.
Yes.
And you've become a true cheerleader. You've embraced the Libertarian Party. You became the Wayne County chairman, and now you've been attending events and traveling the 6th District. You've put on about enough miles to drive from Richmond to the moon and back in your cars.
we've in multiple cars. We've been to a lot of different places around the district, and my old convertible enjoyed getting driven again this summer and getting some miles put on it.
Do you have a tally of the number of miles that you've put on it?
I have no idea. It's
Is it hundreds or thousands?
it's thousands. Yes,
Yeah, it has to be thousands.
It's thousands.
Anytime
miles.
you go down to Madison and back, it's that's a 3.5 hour journey.
1,000 miles, easy.
It's 1,000 miles from nowhere. Dwight Yoakam. Yeah.
So whenever you're out here doing the parades, going to the fairs, what is your opening hook to voters? What's the number one thing you're saying?
Yeah, I mean the opening hook just to start the conversation, just asking if they're going to vote this fall. But the thing that really seems to resonate with people is when we start talking about the party and that we'll go out and work for the people and not for the party. When we start to talk about that, and I know most people have no idea just how much pressure there is on our representatives once they get to Washington to toe the party line and all the hooks they put into them once they get there. But people are starting to see the partisanship, and they're starting to get tired of it.
We talked last week a little bit with Jeannine about the Swamp Series. Have you seen the Swamp Series on Facebook with
Thomas Massey
and Yoho down in Florida?
Yeah, I've seen some of their like dirty money and backroom deals series, and
Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about. It is really eye-opening whenever you see that and you see how much legal corruption, I guess would be the correct name for it.
You've been assigned to the Ways and
exactly.
Means Committee, so you're responsible for raising $2 million, or else we're going to move you to a committee that we just don't think is worth as much.
Yeah. If you're on a minor committee and you don't toe the line, we'll just dissolve your committee and start a new one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So if you're able to be successful, Mike Broyles, by the way, says it's 100 miles to Madison, 2 hours by car, and 6 hours by bicycle. It's the round trip I was adding up, Mike. It's 200-mile trip on the car. You got to calculate it from Williamsburg, though, not from Newcastle. Tom's a Williamsburg guy. One of the
6 hours by bicycle.
Is it a Williamsburg Boys? Is that what the song was? The Williamsburg Boys.
I'm not familiar with
You're
that
probably
one,
not familiar with the old country music songs. That was the. Somebody will know. 26 Cents was another song by the Wilkinsons.
Okay, we're going to move on.
Dakota, how fast do you think
There
you
we
could
go.
run to Madison?
It'd probably take me about 10 hours.
For $1 million.
If it's taken for $1 million, what time do I have to break?
10 hours.
I could do it.
Think so?
You're going to run 100 miles in 10 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. We need to buy an insurance policy and see what happens.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
I'll go for it.
Tom, can we find a way to finance that?
We start a GoFundMe to.
That feels like one of those. Car dealerships have the. If somebody gets a bracket perfectly or something, and they give away a car, that's the kind of thing you buy a big insurance policy.
I always give
We
my
are going-
email out to those
We've
people.
gotten way off track.
Yeah.
All right, Tom. So you have been posting on your Facebook page about different endorsements that you get. What is one that really makes you proud to have gotten?
Of different endorsements.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of any endorsements I've posted on my Facebook page. But
You posted a lot about people who have like a
as far as different people,
personal endorsements, the stories and people.
personal endorsements and stories and people. I've had some quirky ones that are very memorable. At the Wayne County Fair, we had a conversation with the only dues-paying member of the Indiana Communist Party.
nice.
And
he paid it himself.
And he paid it himself. And at the end of the conversation, he said, "Well, I probably disagree with you, less than Republicans and Democrats, so I guess I'll vote for you." So that was a ringing endorsement.
Huh. That is
But
yeah.
that was an interesting county fair because we had a tent out on the road on that one, and we were on one side of the road, and they had an evangelist on the other side. And so you literally see people come. Of course, they just want to get from the rides to the corn dogs, and they're coming down the road and they're looking. Okay, politician. Evangelist, and their eyes are darting. Is there a side exit to get out of here? And
Oh no.
There's no way out.
it's like, no, you got to talk to one of us.
Quickly, somebody find me a used car salesman.
Do you remember the name of the communist?
I do not recall.
Is
his
it
name.
Mark Brim?
Dakota Davis.
No, I can verify it was not Mark Brim.
It was Leiden Faust.
I don't know who that is. But
Tom
all right.
does.
You have you've had some issues though. You and Jeannine both. We talked a little bit with her about one of your Republican opponent, Mr. Greg Pence, and trying to get him to debate.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah. So have you tried personally reaching out to the Pence campaign?
Yeah, I've had some conversations with Greg at county fairs and at parades, but I've seen his campaign dodge in the debate, so we've not even made that effort to do that. We've said we're going to spend our efforts trying to I think we've got enough positive things we can promote about our own campaign. And I'm sure he's got campaign advisors that are giving him advice that you're the front runner. It's a very Republican district, that as long as you don't do anything to screw up, I'm sure the party's convinced they're going to win the seat that way. And that worked for him in the primary.
It worked in the primary,
And we'll
and his
see if it works in the general
brother
election.
kind of did a little bit of that when he ran for governor, so it's a very similar strategy. The Muncie paper, the Gannett paper, which then wound up picking it up in the Indianapolis Star, had a big story this week.
Yeah, they did contact me about that issue. And
Talking about how he's kind of run this submarine or this underwater campaign. Do no
submarine
harm.
campaign, submarine strategy.
Yeah,
And
and
they said-
I mean, voters have said in the past they're tired of negative campaigns, but they still elect the people who run negative campaigns. Voters say they want people to engage them, so we'll see if they still vote for somebody who hasn't engaged them.
You've taken some objection to the negative ads in the Senate race that have been on TV.
I think every Indiana resident has taken objection to the negative ads in the Senate race.
Yes, we all have. We've all been personally victimized.
They're so annoying.
It's not even just TV. You can't escape it, because if you have YouTube, it shows up. It's the first thing that comes up.
That's why we love Lucy, right?
I love Lucy.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's get into your platform a little bit here. So whenever I go to Ferkinhoff2018.com and I start pulling up your issues page, first thing that pops up is entitlement programs, right?
That's right.
And I like that personally, because I certainly haven't heard a candidate really talking about it or putting a lot of things online about it in quite some time, unless they're being extremely negative, like our friends in the Republican Party tend to do. But yours isn't like that. You have a very sensible approach. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Entitlement programs, people talk about we should have a safety net. And the problem with the safety net is people can wind up using it like a hammock and just laying there and relaxing in it for way too long. I mean, our entitlement program should work like a springboard where there are help people bounce back from a bad situation. And I mean, I've just seen so many times how families get trapped in this cycle of poverty and relying on this. I mean, I had a conversation with a assistant superintendent a few years ago at a rural school in the district, and she was telling me that the number one issue they have is just getting kids to care about their education. And said time after time we'll talk to kids, and they'll say, well, why do I need this education? They said, well, to get a job. Why do I need to get a job? Well, to get a paycheck. Well, my parents have never had a job, and they get a paycheck every month, so why do, and it's like it doesn't even register with these kids that, gee, there's a different life out there than living on the government dole.
Yeah.
And the programs just need to be redesigned where, whether it's a 2-year window and you get 4 full months of benefits, then you lose 5% a month until they've run out or something there. And, we've had instances where, we've had a business and promoted somebody to assistant manager, and after 2 weeks they quit and say, well, I'm going to work part-time in a daycare for minimum wage because we just realized that I wasn't getting ahead because I lose so many government benefits by taking a better job. And it's like the system just shouldn't work that way.
Yeah, that is not the way that our, I guess, entitlement programs should be, or our safety net. It should, like you said, Indiana does some good things to try to get that, to try to keep that from happening. With going through job training, job counseling, you're required to apply for a certain amount of jobs every month. And you even are assigned. Whenever I was an electrician, when you go to the unemployment offices, even as an electrician, I'm like, I belong to the union. I'm just here because I'm unemployed right now, and my employer's been paying into this type of unemployment insurance for my behalf. I still had to tell my personal employment counselor what I wanted to do, what my goals were, and give them a resume. I'm not looking for a job.
Right. You're just literally in between.
Right, but still, at
the
the same time, though, you take a step back from that, and you're like, oh, well, this is why they do it this way, and they're trying to keep people who just want to stay on unemployment off of it. So I think that with your idea, what you're kind of getting to is that there needs to be but less leeway in the administration's half of the people who are working in the offices, right?
Correct. And it's like if you're on government welfare, you should have a plan to get off of it. And there should be, it's like, what's your plan? What kind of training you're going to go for? And especially in today's day and age when there's more jobs than there are people looking for work.
So once again, your reform on this would be 2 years of unlimited, and then it starts graduating down unless you have a disability of some sort, I assume.
Right. We're talking about able-bodied people.
Right.
And like saying whether that 2 years is the right time period or not, that's something we can get in the room with other smart people and people who are experienced in the industry and get good information on and craft something. Like people always want to say, well, what's the plan? Well, part of it is just electing people who have the ability to go through data once you get really good information. And
once you have
talk to people who have been on both sides.
Staff, right?
Yeah, once you have a congressional staff, and you have to get input from people who have worked in the system and people who have been on the system.
Tom has his own water. I don't know if I've seen Tom show up at a number of events. He was the only candidate that came Monday night in Knightstown to the women's the BPW business professional women of Knightstown is what it was. And Tom's water says, "Is it time for a change? Ferkinhoff for Congress," something like that.
Yeah.
Or
It's pretty
thirsty.
thirsty.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Thirsty for a change.
I'm just making it up from this side. I
heard
can
it.
see "are a change" is all I can read.
I
From
heard
Sounds
it
like
tastes
excuses.
better than Dasani
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Dasani's toilet water, so it's not that
and
hard.
and spring water.
Spring water is the best water.
Yeah, we handed out thousands of these at parades and fairs this summer. So
He saved
Yeah,
lives.
thousands of those. Yeah.
So
Those things get hot.
Here's a question, Tom. The Trump train has been coming through, and they've been doing stuff. They made a massive change in taxes this year. So, do you consider the tax code to be fixed, and we don't have to worry about it anymore? Are we good to go?
there have been some improvements on the tax code. I do like, especially what they've done at the corporate rate of getting the corporate rate in line with the rest of the world. I mean, there's an awful lot of ways that we've hamstrung our businesses on an international field, and getting the corporate tax laws in line with the rest of the world has been a big improvement. On the personal side, I think there's still a long way to go on that. I mean, one of the biggest things I've seen over the years with the tax code is, the amount of fraud it opens itself up to. And not just from taxpayers, but also from tax preparers who run schemes, some of these even out-of-the-country boiler rooms. I mean, a lot of the stolen identities, we'll have people every year, we file their tax return, and their return rejects because their identity's been stolen.
Somebody has already filed it and claimed their refund.
Right, claimed their refund, or they use them for claiming different credits and false tax return. I mean, there's only billions of dollars that goes out in this, and I'm sure we spend billions of dollars trying to safeguard against that.
Yeah,
And,
so on your website, you said we need to put a 2-year sunset on the entire tax code.
Yeah, and when I say that is, I think a lot of times we try to change the tax laws too quickly. It's like all of a sudden, and sometimes they even do it retroactively. It's like we're supposed to try to plan with businesses when in October they say we're changing the rules back to January 1. And some of these things are supposed to include incentives. Well, how do we know we were supposed to be buying this stuff and we didn't know the incentive was there for the last 10 months?
Right.
But we just need to let business know and let planners know that, okay, you've got 2 years under the system, and after that, we're going to a whole new system so people have time to plan and adjust.
So your personal background is on the corporate side or the personal side, or is it a little of everything?
It's full of everything.
You're a CPA in a medium-sized community, so you're a jack of all trades. You're
Right,
not just
yeah.
a corporate accountant.
Yeah, I worked for a regional accounting firm for several years down in Richmond. I, for 20 years, had my own firm in Randolph County with 2 offices and 2,000 individual tax clients that were, from the laborer in the factory to farmers and business owners, and like I said, the people we work with in Cincinnati are multi-million-dollar manufacturing companies. So we've got a wide range of experience.
So your view on taxes, for those of you that don't know, whenever a new candidate approaches us at the Libertarian Party and they want to run for office, we did a little vetting process with you, like with me, Jeremiah, and Paul, who's Jeremiah's dad, and also the Rush County Libertarian Party chairman. But we set up a meeting with you. There you
go. Good word choice.
There we go.
You're a professional broadcaster now.
Yeah, some mishmouth going on, but it's okay. But we set up a meeting with you and it gave you a list of questions, asked for your views and things to make sure that you're a quality candidate and you're someone who represents our values and our principles well before we vote on you at convention. So whenever we did that, we sat you down and we asked you about taxes. Do you know the libertarian view on income tax and things? And you said that the current tax code is not used to raise revenue, but is instead used to manipulate people's lives. And I've thought about that for ever since we met, because I think it's a pretty powerful statement, and I totally agree with it. But I just wanted you to elaborate on that a little bit more.
Yeah, and and I think when a government entity looks at taxes, they should look at, okay, what are our expenses? What do we need to raise to cover the bills? I mean, when a state looks at sales taxes, they're looking, okay, what rate do we have to charge? When the local government looks at property taxes, whatever their revenue mechanism is, they just look at, okay, what do we have to do to raise X amount of dollars? But with the income tax code, it's, well, we'll give you a credit if you do this behavior. We'll punish you if you do this behavior. And so it's more designed to control human behavior and incentivize other things rather than just to raise the revenue.
We're going to reward you if you get married or if you install thermal windows, but if you decide you're going to, I don't know, pollute or something, we're going to kick you in the teeth.
Yeah. And it's like I've had many clients in the past that lived together for decades, raising a family. They called each other husband and wife, but never got married because they both made $25,000. So by not being married, they could get $5,000 of earned income credit. And as far as they were concerned, the federal government was paying them $5,000 a year to not get married.
Yep.
Now, what happens when the government says, well, you need to have insurance, or you get this weird thing where employers cover insurance, and now the couple wants to have insurance. The government says you have to have insurance, and they've been living together all this time, but they're not actually married because we don't have common law. You end up with this unintended consequence that the government is somehow complicit in, right?
Yeah, I mean, and there's always unintended consequences to any law, and but yeah, there's pluses and cons, and the government's complicit in a lot of things.
Right. But I guess if they, would you support? Have you looked at the fair tax? Is that a sales tax instead of having these corporate income taxes and personal income taxes?
I mean, the sales tax would be fine if we're going to have a personal income tax. I think it needs to just be a flat tax on everyone. And I'm saying, for one thing, just to get rid of all the fraud. I mean, if people need these benefits that are being administered through the tax code, we can administer those through family services. And, the tax preparers shouldn't be working as social workers. We should have social workers doing social workers' jobs.
Yeah. See, I totally agree with that. So, Tom, you're kind of on the same playing field as I am, as being a constitutional libertarian, and kind of saying this is the power that we give the government, and this is what it should stick to, right?
Exactly.
So our Constitution does give Congress the ability to collect taxes on the citizenry.
Because of that evil 16th Amendment.
Yeah.
If we get rid of that, we get back to freedom, Chase.
We can get, absolutely we can. We can get back there. But here's the thing, though. We've had taxes since the founding, and it was on goods and other things that the people paid for. So You take your money, and then that whenever you pay for something, you're going to be paying a sales tax. However, we also know that the government does things that there has to be done, right? We know that there are services that the government provides that we do need, and I personally believe that the reason that it's so messed up is, like you said, all the corruption that gets done with our tax dollars. And if we were funding these things directly and paying taxes to more localities, then they can, instead of the federal or state government, then we can get those resources where we are paying for it and we need it.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't see ever getting rid of the federal income tax, just because, like I say, once something's out there, it's hard to go back.
A guy can dream.
You can always dream.
I've said something similar in my race where we never seem to repeal local taxes either.
Right, yeah.
So once we go ahead and put an income tax in, or a property tax, or whatever it is, you don't get it back. They never look to see how they can cut taxes. It's just, we can grow this one a little bit next time.
Yeah,
we're going to put in this temporary stadium tax, and once the stadium is paid for, then that tax is going to go away.
It'll be time to replace that next stadium.
The citizenry is a wet rag, and the government has been wringing it for a long time, and every once in a while they try to squeeze a little bit more out of it to see how much more dry they can get us.
So on the tax side, you're okay with the income tax in some way, since it's been constitutional for 100 years now, or whatever, 105 years. But we used to fund the government in 1912, 1913, whatever.
Yeah.
13 plus.
I think it was
5.
passed in 1912.
A couple years ago.
Anyway.
Before our time.
Anyway, we used to fund the country with tariffs, and tariffs this year have become a massive issue, especially in your race. I've been hearing about it. I'm sure you have, as you visited all these county fairs. You've been hanging out in the ag community, and we've seen steel and aluminum tariffs, which then has led to this counterpunch to the ag community. So are you supportive or sympathetic to the tariffs that were put in place by the president, or what do you see as the future?
I mean, I understand what the president's trying to do there. I hope he's just using it as a negotiating tool, and he's going to get something done. These tariffs are going to go away. They truly will be temporary. But I've seen more of an impact from the steel side of things and what that's doing to some of the manufacturers, and the immediate increase to their cost has been, like I'm saying, it's really, like you said, it has been a 1-2 punch in our community.
Yeah.
Of the, lower farm prices. The farmers I've talked to, I've been impressed with most of their attitudes, and most of them are not real stressed out about it yet. But I also know that most of them locked in their pricing well before the tariffs went into effect. So
Next year is the year they're really going to feel it.
Their crops they grew in 2018, most of them aren't going to sell them until 2019. And I know they've got really good yields, and they don't lock in price on everything because they don't want to be committed to deliver more than that they can, because that costs them money to go buy the grain to deliver. So, but they've locked in enough to make a profit. When they sell it in 19, they'll make a profit. Now, what they raise in 2019, if the tariffs are still in and prices are still low, they just won't pre-contract it.
By then, what you can do is you can have legalized hemp. You and Lucy can have legalized hemp, and we can have a hemp crop, and we don't have to. Yeah, because this is an issue we've talked about it a couple of times on the show. But basically, the state of Indiana can't do it or won't do it because the federal government's in the way. So if the federal government says, we're not going to regulate this anymore, then that opens the green light to that.
Yeah, we've heard that from members of the Indiana state legislature, from state senators and state representatives, that the reason that we're holding off is because it's the federal government doesn't allow it, right?
Yeah,
so
you heard the same thing today. So they voted like 15-0 in a committee at the Indiana General Assembly today, a summer study committee. We talk about those?
Yeah.
They had a summer study committee today that Jim Lucas had brought forward on medical marijuana.
I didn't realize that was today.
And that was today, and it passed 15-0 out of there, which was a positive step for this product. But the governor said, well, I wouldn't support it because it's not legal federally. So now the governor is totally impotent in this case. He can veto it, and the same 51 votes that pass out of the House makes it law again. But when you have somebody saying, hey, I don't want to pass it because the federal government says it's not okay, then they're taking a risk. That's another opportunity, Tom, for you to support the state if you can get there, right?
Yeah, and it's ridiculous that we have conflicting federal laws at federal and state level on this issue now. And in the states where it is legal, one of the issues they have is none of the banks will let them set up a bank account. I mean, some of these are multi-million-dollar growing operations that have employees, and everything is hard cash.
Yep.
I mean, the IRS in Colorado had to put in bill counting machines, and in secure rooms, people come in to make their tax deposits. Whereas, I make my tax deposits for me or my customers. We go online and do it. Anybody in the marijuana industry comes in, and they've got to pay it in cash. All their taxes get paid in cash at the IRS.
That is crazy.
That's a lot of money.
It really has turned into an agricultural issue, though. It's not just it's guys growing weed, and that's what the libertarians are.
But hemp is
it's become so mainstream, and hemp is truly a
hemp
commercial
is the
product.
hard-working cousin of marijuana.
Right, but they're all lumped in together, and you've got various degrees of this is one product versus yesterday Canada made marijuana itself just totally recreational, but we're still trying to get commercial hemp to be able to have hemp seed for your breakfast or hemp clothes, right?
Yeah. Well, if you took the special interest money out of Washington, it'd be legal tomorrow.
Yeah. It was such a big deal to get CBD legalized here in Indiana. We covered that on 4 different shows talking to people about that. And it's like, are you freaking kidding me? This is CBD oil that 12 years ago, you could go to the health food store and buy it because no one knew what the heck it was. Right. And then all of a sudden we found out it came from marijuana, and then we started freaking out about it.
So, Tom, we are the #1 tractor podcast in all of Indiana, and guys are out there in their combines. It's Friday or Saturday, and they're running beans right now.
I heard that last week.
As they're out there running beans, listening. Why are you the better choice than Jeannine Lee Lake or Greg Pence for the ag community in Indiana?
I mean, I've got a lot of experience with the ag community. I mean, I've been a business consultant in the ag community for over 30 years. Dealing not only with the taxes, but also just in all the financial areas that they deal with and helping farmers through the hoops. And so we know a lot of what they deal with on a regular basis. And it's been amazing the last 30 years seeing the evolution of the average farmer and just how much more literate they are on the financial worlds and how they've had to learn to market, learn to...
The average farmer has had to evolve into this position to where they can learn to maximize their income.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we should make it illegal for them to drive at 8 in the morning. Around 8 in the morning when everyone's trying to get to work. It'd make it safer for everybody.
And would it?
Yeah.
Even the farmer?
Yeah.
I always take a chance going around the guy. Okay? Just saying.
From 7 to 9 and 4 to 6, no agricultural machinery on the roads.
Yeah, it's kind of like how in Pendleton they have no left turns.
Oh, Chase. You just make enemies, man. That's all you do.
Last week we mentioned with Jeannine Lee Lake on the tariffs that Congress can still write legislation and try to get it passed. It would have to be very strong legislation, very strong bipartisan legislation to override President Trump's tariffs. Is that something you would be in support of?
I mean, if I saw the data that it was harming America, and if it got to the point where it was going on too long, where it's like, okay, this is a negotiating tactic that isn't going to work, then I think Congress needs to step in. I think President Trump is probably more likely that he would double down on something than ever back down on something.
Yeah.
And that I'm sure that's a very positive thing in negotiating, that other countries know he's not going to back down. But if his bluff isn't going to be called, if things aren't improving where it really is going to harm our economy, then Congress needs to step in. But that's one of the issues of, what can Congress really get together on these days?
Well, so, if you are a congressman, you're going to have a platform as a congressman. It's much weaker now than it was. I don't even know the era to say, if you look at what the power of Congress is supposed to be, you're supposed to control the purse strings. You're supposed to pass the laws and write the policies. Instead, something gets passed. You really don't read it at your level, and then some bureaucrat that works in the Justice Department or the Health Department or the Department of Energy actually writes the rules that Congress should be writing, right?
Yeah, I mean, there are bureaucrats that write the interpretations and the rules, and and that's one of the dangers in negotiating trade treaties is, like, when we pass laws, if things don't shake out the way that they intended, they can write a technical corrections bill. If a trade treaty, there's things in there that
it's supreme.
It's supreme. You can't just unilaterally say, "Hey, we're going to change this." You're locked in with the other country, and
right. And those get negotiated by the president. Then you basically get to go in and say yes.
Right.
Yeah,
and I saw
yes
today that there's some other trade treaty that's going up for grabs right now with China. That's like 14 years old, I think. I don't know.
I don't know the answer to that. Yeah,
it was 115.
Was it?
Of course, yeah. Chase knows. To me, if I was running for Congress, and I'm busy enough running for the Henry County Council, but I would be screaming from the rooftops about the authority Congress has given to the executive branch and saying we need to take it back.
Yeah.
From declaring wars all the way to writing laws and actually in policy, because you're not being treated, in my view, like you're a co-equal branch of government.
Yeah, and that's something I've posted on multiple times, between ignoring the 10th Amendment and Congress just being so ineffective that the president issues executive orders and Congress does nothing to rein them back in. And I think the ineffectiveness of Congress, the constant infighting, I think that has led to the executive branch taking more power upon itself. And our Congress and our courts have let that happen. They've let the balance of power
Yeah, so that's the root of our problem, right? So we have, all these things are going on with the President Trump passing these tariffs, but if you look at the actual issue, it's because in 1962 we decided to let the president impose tariffs by executive order. Like that is our real problem in American government, is that the president has increasingly got too much power. That's why nobody votes in the midterms. That's why voters don't turn out in 2018 for these races, is because they just don't care.
Yeah, everybody focuses on that one man or woman at the top. And,
yep.
And Article 1 of the Constitution talks about Congress being the legislative branch. I mean, you would think there's a reason that they put that first.
Yeah, didn't everybody watch the cartoons whenever you were a kid?
Exactly.
I'm a bill.
Yeah, I watched the SNL version of it where they knock him down the hill a few times. Yeah. He climbs back up.
I'm an executive order, and I pretty much just happened.
Tom, who do you caucus with, Democrats or Republicans?
I guess I would caucus with the Freedom Caucus if I were elected.
So that was
any Democrat or Republican that joined the Freedom Caucus, I would caucus with.
Yeah, that was one of the questions that we asked Jeannine Lee Lake last week was, if and when you're elected to Congress, then actually no, different question. Sorry.
Boy, you really messed that up. We have to start over again.
Okay.
Totally have to start over. Stop recording. I'm going to end this live stream. No, but before you're
pickle.
Yeah. Before you're elected to Congress, what is one member of government that you really admire?
I always like listening to Thomas Massey, and just his original story of when he went to Congress, and the Speaker of the House, John Boehner, helped him to get elected, and it wasn't long before he got to Congress that it's like, okay, I owe this guy a debt in getting me here, but
6 weeks later, he's trying to.
But
he's in the coup.
But
trying to overthrow him.
It's like he was willing to do what's right and say, "Oh, wait a minute, he's not leading us down the right path." And I don't owe that much loyalty. His loyalty to the people was greater than his loyalty to the Speaker.
Yep.
And the people who elect you, and that's who you have to have your loyalty to.
So, do you have are you going to run for Speaker immediately, or are you going to wait a couple of terms?
I'll probably get a couple of terms on my belt, get some experience. Yeah.
All right, so let's move on.
But there will be a new speaker next time because Paul Ryan's going away. Yeah. So
he's left the building.
Yeah. You have somebody in mind?
It would be good to have somebody outside of one of those two parties as the speaker.
Yeah, maybe somebody they can unite around.
Yeah.
Would be nice. Yeah, if I was in, I would vote for you as a speaker if I could.
Henry County, Henry County, listen to me. Tom could be elected to Congress, and he's the only logical choice for speaker. So. Think of all the goodies you're going to get if the Speaker of the House represents you, right?
And he seems like a nice guy. Just saying.
Plus the vice president's from here.
Chase isn't even a libertarian. He's saying that.
Yeah, I'm whoever pays me. So,
how much did Tom pay you? More than we did?
We'll get into that later.
Chase has not received much payment from the Boss Hog Liberty Group.
No, none of us have.
His contract, it doesn't cost us money like it cost Dakota and I, but it's pretty much a break-even deal.
Yeah, very much break even. All right, so Tom, whenever you go on to Ferkinhoff2018.com, on the top right-hand side of the page, on the issues page, is a little tab called Healthcare. And it has got the most written about it than any other tab on there because it's a pretty complex issue. So, do you think you can break it down in about 15 minutes for me?
Break down the simple issue of healthcare, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell you that nothing that Congress has done has brought down the cost of health care. And, whether it's education, whether it's health care, if you want to say free education, free health care, if you want to raise the cost of something, throw a bunch of money into the pool. If you want to raise the cost and make it inefficient and ineffective, throw a bunch of government money at the issue. And, that's what we've done with health care. I mean, the Affordable Care Act is 2,700 pages with more onerous things hidden in there than most people realize.
Well, we had to pass it to figure out what was in it.
Yeah, we had to pass it, and some of them are still figuring out what was in it.
At the time it was passed, Charles Krauthammer said, once this actually takes effect, you will never be able to roll it back because of all the goodies that were thrown in.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Charles. Yeah. I can't believe you knew who Charles Krauthammer was, number one. And number two, that
you
he's
can
dead.
ask Dakota. I used to watch Fox News religiously in high school.
I really did.
My head is sewn to the carpet, shocked that
I
Chase
am a
had
completely
any
different
idea.
person now.
Okay. So, but
He's about to get married.
Yeah, that's true. Charles Krauthammer said, if they do this, it will never be undone because people love the kids on the insurance till they're 27, and they love the pre-existing condition thing that's in there. And those are poison pills financially, right?
Well, yeah, especially the pre-existing condition. With the pre-existing condition, we no longer have health insurance. I mean, insurance is the transfer of a risk to a company, and they've taken insurance and tried to make it a funding mechanism, but yet they've left health insurance companies whose CEOs get paid tens of millions of dollars a year in charge of it. So I mean, it's like the worst of both worlds. I mean, you need to go one way or the other way, not throw all the government money into it, because in addition to paying people's premiums, there's supposed to be subsidy payments to the insurance companies to boost up the claims. They are supposed to be paying the marketing cost of these insurance companies every year to promote Obamacare policies or Affordable Care policies. And I say it's no longer insurance, but yet we have these private for-profit insurance companies making money off the system.
Yeah. And it's not – you can't just start – the system that's been created is not capitalism, right? It's not a free market.
No.
Tom Ferkinhoff can't go out and start an insurance company. The barriers to entry that they've created are so unbelievable that you can't just be the mom and pop small insurance company that you just started. No. It's not going to happen. You've got Aetna and Blue Cross Blue Shield, 2 or 3 others out there, and then that's it. And they're big, and they've got their lobbyists and their people that make sure that they're taken care of. But you definitely don't have a pure capitalistic society, and I don't know how you're going to get back to it with the system you have.
And that's, let's say, what Charles Krauthammer said was one of my initial concerns. That if this thing passes, it's going to be very difficult to roll it back. And it's the same thing with the tax code. There's so many benefits in there to people that how do you all of a sudden roll back something that people have been relying on?
Right.
And quite frankly, my experience has been for every client I've got that was helped by the Affordable Care Act, I've got 3 that were hurt by it. But how do you say to that one that was helped by it, hey, we're going to all of a sudden take this benefit away from you that you've been relying on now? And
so you say on the website, you say, so what we have now is the worst of both worlds. If the United States wants to do socialized medicine, just do it, or just go to totally free market. So are you totally leaving it to the free market, or?
My preference would be leave it to the free market. I mean, I was actually in health insurance brokerage. I worked as an intern in college and worked for a firm for a few years after college on that. So it's like I know how health insurance is supposed to work and how many times government involvement and government trying to control the industry actually made things worse, like they do with most things that they try. So, I mean, it'd be totally tough to roll it back. But if you're going to have government subsidized insurance, do what they do with the Affordable Care Act and just let anybody enroll in Medicaid but pay the premium for it, and then let the insurance companies go operate in the free market.
And then you just take your Medicaid voucher and go to an insurance company.
Well, or not even with a Medicaid voucher. It's like you've got a choice. You can say, hey, I'm going to stay in the free market, and I'm going to buy a policy from Anthem or United Healthcare, or I'm going to buy into Medicaid that go with one system or other, but don't try to merge the government and private industry.
So is there a percentage, and you may not know the answer to this, but a percentage of people that are using this system versus employer sponsored? Because I think Dakota, myself, and I'm guessing Chase as well, we're on employer sponsored because we're still, of a working age. We're not on government insurance on the back end, but we have full-time jobs. So typically, if you're working for a corporation, your insurance comes that way. But if you're a small business guy, or a farmer or somebody, or you're working for a very small business, you're not a business owner, but you're working for a small business. Those are the people that are falling into this bucket with the Obamacare.
If you're a small business owner or a farmer whose wife doesn't work somewhere where she can get the family, or female small business owner whose husband doesn't work somewhere where they can get insurance for the family, you've been crushed by the Affordable Care Act. Yeah. I mean, their premiums have their deductibles have doubled, tripled, and their premiums have skyrocketed. And it was obvious from day one that was going to happen. I mean, the if you like your coverage, you can keep it was the biggest bold-faced lie ever told the American public.
did not have sexual relations with that one.
No, but that one didn't matter.
Was that Abraham
nearly
Lincoln?
as much?
Was that Abraham Lincoln?
He posted that to his Twitter.
Oh yeah, I thought I saw that, man.
All right, I've gotten through all my issues and my gotcha questions for Tom. Unfortunately, I was really hoping to catch you on something, but so far we just agree on everything.
Tom,
Dang it!
Are there any wars we need to be declaring or should have declared? We haven't talked about foreign policy, but you're supposed to be in charge of that if you're in Congress.
Supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd have to hire some very good foreign policy advisors as part of my staff on some of that, but no.
I mean, the authority is yours, though. You're supposed to declare it.
We need to stop being the world's police force. I mean, flat out, that was. I heard a liberal news station yesterday saying that the FBI should be investigating this Saudi killover in Turkey, and thinking like, what do you think the FBI's role is, and why do you think everything that happens on foreign soil is something the United States has to get involved in? And we also need to quit interfering in other countries' elections before we complain about countries interfering in our elections.
So, I mean, we're still operating. Not, the fall of 2001 is when we declared this, that we gave the authority for the wars that have taken place in Afghanistan,
and that temporary Patriot Act got put in place,
and the Patriot Act written by Justice Kavanaugh came along. But I mean. Are you supportive of this? Is this the kind of policy that you'd be advancing, or are you saying no? I'm a no vote, and I'm pushing against these sorts of things. The never-ending wars. I mean the
never-ending Act. Yeah, the never-ending war needs to become the war that comes to an end. The drone strikes in foreign country for what they do to their own citizens. I don't sure we have authority to be meddling in those countries. And
all right,
yeah.
Very good. Well, we are just about at that time, I suppose, Chase.
All right. I got a couple questions. I got a question for you, Tom.
Uh-huh.
It's pretty hard hitting, so get ready. You're a numbers guy, right?
I try to be, yeah.
What's your favorite number?
My favorite number is 24.
24. Why 24?
24 because that's the number that Tony Perez wore for the Big Red Machine.
Nice.
You're a Cincinnati guy. You got a lot of ties to Cincinnati. Big Reds fan. Go down and watch games.
I actually had a full season ticket package for 20 years up until last year that I did not renew this year. We had front row seats to every Reds game ever played at Great American Ballpark until this year.
Really?
Now I shared those with other people, so I didn't go to every game ever played. But
you had to give them up.
But I did have the tickets in my hand.
Was it Obamacare's fault?
The games were not entertaining anymore. And actually, I heard Joey Votto on the radio one day justifying his salary, saying, "Hey, we're entertainers." And you looked at whether entertainers get paid, and I thought, you know what? I'm not entertained by this product anymore. Why am I sending them a check every year? And
you're a candidate. You're supposed to say you gave it up for the campaign.
Well, I
focus.
I was glad I didn't have to have that on my schedule as well, because my schedule was very booked this year with campaigning.
Jeremiah,
I imagine.
You're running for something, right?
Yes, I'm running for the Henry County Council, Chase.
Oh, okay, I got a couple questions for you.
Oh, boy.
Okay. If you could get rid of one state, which state would it be? If you had to.
I have to get rid of one.
Yeah.
I got it. I got one.
Which one? What would you do, Dakota?
Oh, no, we're letting Jeremiah answer.
All right.
I'm going to say that we are going to eliminate. Man.
Ohio.
That is no. Ohio's my people, man. I
I
work
voted
in Ohio
too, Chase. Yes.
I'm going to give up. I'm going to give up Mississippi.
Really? Why Mississippi?
They're last in everything, man.
It's true.
They're last in everything.
We
would have lost. We would have lost the Mannings, but we would have lost Cooper.
Oh well.
Peyton. Peyton's from Louisiana, I guess, and he went to Tennessee, but that kind of screws over Eli.
That's okay.
Ole Miss.
He sucks now.
I assume they'll be like an independent.
All right.
nation.
One more question.
All right.
If you had to choose between fighting a gorilla or a grizzly bear, which one would you choose?
Man, I'm not winning either fight, okay? I'm not winning either fight.
How do you know?
Yeah. You have a knife.
Oh, man. I think I'm going gorilla.
Oh, no. That's the worst thing you could do. You would literally get torn in half, man.
Have you ever seen a gorilla fight a man?
Oh, it is bad.
Yeah, I'm not going to win either. But have you
There's
seen
a reason that Russians
seen a bear
fight
claw?
bears.
Yeah, you might be able to beat a bear.
I mean, I could go after a brown bear.
I don't even know if you could
No,
stab
the brown
a gorilla with
hey,
a knife.
The brown bears are the big ones. You want to go after a black bear.
Yeah,
They're
Yeah.
basically
Yeah. A black-
800-pound raccoons.
Or dogs.
yeah. I think I'm
You
going
could
gorilla.
probably pet one.
I'm going to wrestle around. For
Okay,
you.
my last thing is the Bears are playing the Lions here in a few weeks coming up, and I'm ready to see.
Are you going to go?
I'm going to the Vikings game, but I'm ready to see my Bears beat Christy Avery's Lions. I don't know, guys. We might have to come up with a bet.
You play them twice a year.
Twice a year. I think it's like 5 weeks from now. We're gonna beat their ass. So if she has any suggestions, lay it on me. I'm gonna win. So
Your Bears are
Christy
pretty good
Avery
this
said,
year.
"Oh no."
Yeah, I think I really don't care about the NFC North, man. I don't know.
She's
Best
gonna.
stuff
She's
to
gonna.
division.
You guys are first place.
She is betting you 1 month of Patreon donation.
Ooh. We don't want to lose our Patreon.
I'm
money, man. Be careful.
I'm a baller on a budget.
Well, Chase will just pay her back.
I'm a baller
for
on
1
a
month.
budget.
All right.
How much does she donate?
Okay.
Christy's $50 a month.
Yeah.
She's big time.
I'll throw in 10 on that.
Tom, are you eliminating any states? You got any states on the chopping block, or are you a let's bring more states in kind of guy?
Ohio.
I don't think we need any more states in here.
Not Puerto Rico.
What about
we could drop a territory or two.
what about taxation without representation for the capital city?
Yeah, that needs to happen. People.
Nothing.
Yeah.
No comment.
Okay.
No comment.
Okay.
Chase, you got anything else?
The only thing I have is wind farms are still cool.
Yeah.
So
Did you wear your
suck it.
shirt?
I didn't. It's kind of cold out.
He was
So I
late
wouldn't-
today.
Breaking news.
I
It
was
sounds
late.
like more and more wind farms are going down. You're on the losing side of this one, man.
I'm on the right side of history, Jared. Because guess what?
There's no tax abatements, and there's
15
this,
years from now, there's going to be wind farms everywhere.
Listen
and
to this.
I am going to
There's no
love it.
tax abatements, and there's a 4-mile buffer zone around like 8 small towns in Henry County.
Yeah.
Jared, I have a couple graveyards I want to put a wind farm by here in like 20 years.
According to a Patreon supporter, David Herring, seems like over 90% of all leased area for wind farms has been terminated by these 4-mile blocks.
Well, Dakota, people bet against Michael Jordan once,
Which
too.
means that Jeremiah
They
was
lost.
right in his council race, saying that wind is a dead issue right now.
So if wind's dead, what's next?
The Doughboy.
Yeah, well, no. Let's talk about
Doughboy dedication is coming up next month.
Ooh.
Let's talk about taxes. House Bill 1263. We can talk about that. I found out this really cool thing. You can post on your Facebook page that you want House Bill 1263 to take effect, and then 2 weeks later you can say that you don't want to raise taxes. Yeah, it's a pretty neat thing. You can contradict yourself as a candidate, and turns out only libertarians will call you out on it, and then you just get blocked. You can just block people.
We could talk about the movie theater. Aren't we supposed to get a new one?
Is a new movie theater coming into Henry County?
Yeah.
We already talked about that on the show.
Yeah,
Chase.
Castle,
where have you been,
Castle
man?
2.0.
Where you been, man?
Well, let's hope not.
All right, Tom, I want to ask you a question. Your final thoughts are coming up here now. I want to
All
know
right.
what your favorite festival is that you went to. You went to all these different parades and festivals and things. What's your standout number one moment? What's the best thing you went to as a candidate so far?
I think the Ethnic Expo down in Columbus this past weekend.
With you wearing lederhosen.
Wearing lederhosen and my wife in her dirndl, and I mean we enjoyed, even though it turned a little bit cold that day after having really nice fall weather. We enjoyed the parade. We enjoyed the people. It was a great atmosphere, good entertainment, food vendors that represented every different country on the earth. It seemed like up and down the way that there were. I mean, I was disappointed we only have one meal to eat there. Actually,
So you have lederhosen?
you have a very nice pair of lederhosen.
Was it
do
rental
you-
or do you own it?
I own a pair of lederhosen.
Do you ever attend the Freudenfest in Oldenburg?
The Oldenburg is my
Indiana?
hometown. So
Is it really?
I was at the very first Freudenfest.
That's where my Stein came from.
Yeah.
I love that. I
Yeah,
love.
I was
Freudenfest.
actually born and raised in Batesville, Indiana, but my family's lived in Oldenburg for 6 generations now.
Wow, that's awesome.
So I said when the picture was posted, somebody, maybe Clyde Myers, state representative race, or somebody posted a picture. It was you and Clyde,
Right.
and you were wearing the lederhosen. And I said, I don't want a congressman in a suit because they cost too much. I'm happy with one that looks like this.
Lederhosen is not cheap, though. I've looked at it because of our trips to Oldenburg for Freudenfest. Not the cheapest stuff to buy.
It's something you have to commit to.
Yeah, I might have to commission Audrey's grandmother to make me a pair.
There you go. I mean, she
custom fitted.
She works for you now.
Yeah, she could let us know.
We work for her.
You crushed all her bathrooms too.
Yeah, destroying her house.
All right, so Tom, final thoughts on your side. Anything we missed about the campaign? Things you want to promote? You're going to Channel 6, WRTV in Indianapolis tomorrow morning.
I'll be there tomorrow morning for another interview with them. I'm not sure when that will air, but they wanted to follow up interviews, so we'll see what additional questions they've come up with. We've just been trying to get out to every corner of the district, any place we can go to speak. Been getting out, knocking on doors. Night before last, in a small town that knocked on a door, and the guy said, "Well, you're too late because I just sent my absentee ballot in this morning." He said, "But my wife and I did both vote for you." So I said, "Well," I was pretty excited I wasn't getting shut out.
Nice.
I think I've had 4 people now tell me they've already cast a vote for me because they're voting early. And I thought, well, if I don't get any more votes, I'll spend less per vote than Jonathan Lamb did in the primary.
Rex
I'm
Bell
excited about that.
Rex Bell always says, "Keep voting until they make you quit."
Hey, we have early voting at all the counties in the district now. So vote early, vote often, and vote Libertarian.
Cool.
So, and then you said you attended the thing on Monday evening in Knightstown.
Yes.
And to be honest, there were some good newspaper coverage that came out of it, but it was mostly candidates and candidates' families and the organizers there. I think there was one voter there, and he was very popular. But on the way out, you sent me a message and said, "Hey, I stopped in the Casey's in Spiceland, and you were pretty well received in there."
Yeah, I mean
you may carry Spiceland Township.
Yeah, I might. And it's like as I go different places, I try to if I get an opportunity to, ask somebody if they're voting and give them a card. And I did that with the clerk, and I told him I was a Libertarian candidate. He was excited, said we need more Libertarians. And the lady who had just walked up behind me in line asked what a Libertarian was, and I started telling her a little bit. And she asked for a card, and about 6 other people came over from in the aisles, listening to our conversation and wanted cards. So it was a productive trip to Casey's.
Anytime you're in Spiceland, all you have to do is say, "Listen, we're the people that want to let you have your chickens." That's all you, and then they will know. And then if you get more than like 8 people together, Darren Jacobs will come in and he'll say, "You got to have a permit for an assembly like this. You don't have that much freedom."
Say we're libertarians and we want to overthrow the communist oppressor that is Darren Jacobs.
Have you tried Casey's breakfast pizza?
I love it. I had some this morning,
good.
actually.
It's so good.
I haven't done the pizza in a long time, but that is I miss the Jack's Donuts an awful lot. But the Casey's breakfast pizza with bacon and eggs on it, that's some good stuff. It really is.
It's better than Noble Romans. Just say it.
Yeah. So Tom, how do people follow you? What do they need to do? And are you walking? You need volunteers? You need money, or are you good on all that stuff now?
I mean, we'll always take money. You can go to Ferkinhoff2018.com to donate. There's a donate button there, or it'll tell you where to mail your check to. The Ferkinhoff for Congress Facebook page is a good place to follow us and see the things that we put out there and believe in. And any volunteers, reach out to me, Tom at Ferkinhoff2018.com.
I heard if you donate to Tom, he does your taxes for free next year. That's what I heard.
I used to have 4 arms. I drank some of his water. Now I only have 2.
Nice.
So, miracle.
Dakota, you got final thoughts?
Yeah, I have some final thoughts. Of course I do. So we got some big things coming your way. Next week we have Jeremiah Morrell coming on as a guest.
Well, that's gonna be weird.
It's gonna be the candidates for District 1. We have Jeremiah Morrell, Pat Cronk, and Kenan Gray all coming on to give their speech and tell us about themselves to the voters.
Everybody's confirmed?
Well, yeah. Everybody's going to come.
It's a very inclusive show, so the door is open. Greg Pence, if you're watching, or
you can come too.
Molly Gillespie, I know you and I have talked like 3 times now, and you've turned me down politely. I get turned down by Molly Gillespie more times than I've been turned down for dates in my life now. But we're welcoming people on this show, right?
Yeah, we're very inclusive. Kenan Gray, I'm going to go ahead and say that he is going to come on. This is a good platform to get your message out. Kenan, if you want to come on, discuss the issues with your opponents. We're going to be asking very fair questions, the same questions that you heard during the Dakota Clark and Jesse Riddle episode, and getting each candidate's vision for the county. I will be hosting that episode all by my lonesome.
Where do I get to sit?
Yeah, you're gonna be sitting over here. I want to have Kennan sit next to me.
All right.
So Kennan's gonna sit in my chair. Pat Cronk's gonna sit over here, and you're gonna sit in Chase's chair.
Sounds fair.
Yep.
Sounds fair.
And so yeah, that's my plan anyway.
So you don't have a co-host? It's just you.
Just gonna be me,
You
man.
gonna be okay?
Yeah, I'm gonna be asking all kinds
I
of
believe in
questions.
you.
I'll be right here if you need me.
That's right. Who knows? My vote might get swayed. I had thought I
You
was
don't
pretty...
even live in the district. If you don't live in the district, you don't live in the county, you shouldn't have an opinion.
I live in the county.
Okay, well, I mean, you live outside the political boundaries of this race, so you should...
No, it's okay.
You're supposed to keep your mouth shut about these things.
Listen, Republicans have people come and speak for them that aren't from the county. Libertarians can have people that come speak for them that are out of the county, and so can Democrats. Just because you live outside the county...
inclusive?
Yes.
You're inclusive on this show.
Just because you live outside the county doesn't mean that your opinion does not matter.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
This is a safe
of course,
space.
I want to thank our sponsor tonight, the Slick Pickle. I kept accidentally...
No, we don't have a script written, so Dakota is going to wildly come up with a script for the Slick Pickle like I did.
Yeah, and so
Can't wait to hear it.
Okay, well, every time that I kept looking up the Slick Pickle because I was trying to make Tom's the candidate series logo for you tonight, I accidentally typed in the Slippery Pickle.
Ooh.
Don't go to the Slippery Pickle on Google. Not appropriate. Tom, if you are in Congress, then you might see my name come up for some type of weird watch list. I don't know. So, the Slick Pickle is our sponsor tonight. Take a ride in style. They are taking reservations. It is Newcastle's biggest hit since Big Bounce. Yeah.
Pickles, booze, buses. You can't get any better than that.
Pickles, booze, and buses. They take reservations for weddings, birthdays, proms, bachelor and bachelorette parties. We want to be on par with Nashville, Indiana. Nashville, Tennessee is now the prime destination for bachelor parties over Las Vegas. We are going to take that spot.
Yes.
Newcastle, Indiana is. Believe you me. We have Twin Lions.
We've got a pool.
We have Twin Lions. We have the pool. We have Baker Park, Memorial Park.
You got
Primo.
Tommy at the Town Tavern with
Tommy.
karaoke night.
That's right. So, and we also have the Slick Pickle. So if you have a special request, then you can just message them anytime. They'll set you up with something. Let them know that Boss Hog of Liberty sent you so that they know that their advertisement went to something great.
I think we should make a jingle.
Should we make a
You
jingle?
want to work on that? Come back with us next time.
Me and Dakota.
Pickle.
Come to the Slick Pickle.
Take a ride on the pickle.
You gonna work the phone number in?
I don't have the phone number in front of me.
Man, oh man. The Slick Pickle is at 765-325-5867. Give them a call. Let them know that Boss Hog of Liberty sent you. All right. So is that all you got, Dakota?
That's all I have.
That's the final thought?
Yeah, we're good. I'm excited for Ken and Gray, Pat Cronk, and Jeremiah Morrell next week.
All right. So we've got that going on. This weekend, I'm walking, going door to door, trying to win this race. Cade Koger says we have L&K Produce, too. Don't forget him.
If as soon as L&K Produce sponsors our studio, then
maybe they'll get a jingle.
We can mention them.
All right. Yeah, we can't mention L&K Produce until they sponsor. We cannot say anything about L&K
We
Produce.
can't say that their donuts are better.
No. All right. Anyway, so I need walkers. So there's Facebook events on my page, Jeremiah Morrell -candidate or whatever. Jump on there. Still got a handful of yard signs left. You want a yard sign, hit us up. We'll get them out. But Tuesday night and Thursday night, we will be doing live streams from the Boss Hog of Liberty covering the local county events. There's an event in Middletown in the evening at, I don't know, I think it's a church or library or something. I don't know. There's a Facebook event. We'll be up there, though. We're going to send Chris Guffey up. He's going to be running the camera.
It's not going to be me this time.
Dakota is an indentured servant in his own home. He's right now just about homeless. He's trying to find a place to be able to shower by the time his home somewhere north of Q is sold.
He smells really bad.
He's doing the best he can, man. There's a lot of cologne, but we're all getting through it.
I just shower at the YMCA.
He's got his gym membership, and that's all. That's all he needs.
Young man that's a Christian, then they let me in and shower.
Do you have any soap? Anyway, so we're going to do that Tuesday and Thursday night, and then the show is on Wednesday. It's not on Thursday. It's a Wednesday show next week. It's going to be a little bit different. So we look forward to that. Lots of contact coming from you. No opportunity to miss us. You'll see me walking Saturday, Sunday. We'll have the show Wednesday night, and then Thursday we got a big public forum. So come out and see us, ask questions. And if you are a listener and you're looking at these county council races or the congressional race, reach out to these campaigns and ask questions. Challenge people. Say, hey,
Chris
I want to
Duffy's
know.
been doing that.
I want to know where you stand on X, Y, or Z, and hold them to it. It's your job. We're here. We're being interviewed by you. This show's supposed to help you with that, but so is that's your role as a voter. So unless you're really, really sure you're voting for who you're voting for, don't go out and get an absentee ballot and get it early. A bunch of you guys just got ballots in the mail from the state Republican Party saying, hey, vote right now. You don't have to vote right now. That's not what that means. That's them trying to get you to vote for their guy, and then be done with it. Vote on Election Day. That's the fun of it. Don't vote early unless you have to. Unless you're going to be gone, don't vote early.
Republican Party didn't send me one of those. They don't care about my vote.
Yeah.
I might vote Jeremiah. I might
probably
not.
lost in the mail.
It depends if he pisses me off or not.
Yeah. Wait till the last minute. It's the last thing you want to have.
You
Is
gonna vote for
something
Tom?
where you don't know.
$5, Tom. I'm just kidding.
I guess we'll see you next week on episode. I was born in 1983. You know that, right?
Oh, really?
And I'll be on episode 83.
Too bad it's 83, not 1983.
Okay. Well, you run that.
Long time ago.
You run that. Next week.
Long time.
Next week, I'm one of the guests. It's the weirdest thing. We'll see you then.
Thank you for listening to the Boss Hog of Liberty, which is part of the We Are Libertarians Network. I am Chris Spangle, and I am the founder of this network, and I invite you to listen to all of our shows, which you can find at WeAreLibertarians.com or by searching for these in your podcatcher. The flagship show is the We Are Libertarians podcast, where we apply libertarian principles to current events. The Brian Nichols Show is a conversation amongst Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, Independents, as they talk about what is happening in the news. And we have many other podcasts like The Chris Spangle Show, Upward, The Cost, Raw Audio Politics, Miranda's World, and Tad Talk, which is quite a ride. So check all of these out. Go to WeAreLibertarians.com and you can check out all of our great podcasts. Thanks for listening. Thank you for listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Get our other shows at WeAreLibertarians.com.